But I have a lot to give God thanks for. Um, I think it's my sinuses I'm having problem with, and not necessarily any other thing, you know. So I think that is the problem. But we'll see what is what, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So when you can submit the assignment, miss? Next week? Before next week's class?
So we can skip over it.
If we can do it? No, 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 no. The answer is no to that. Yeah. The answer is no to that. You cannot skip over anything. That is not going to work. You understand? That is not going to work. Not going to work. So we have to do what we have to do now. So wait until the next person join and then we'll start. I really don't come online to be stressed. So I hope that person will come on so we can start the class. If not, I will just start it you alone and just do the class. Because we have our viewers. Don't come online to be stressed. We'll have our viewers online, you know. 1 second there, please. Hello. I'm here talking to myself. Thought that my mic was not muted. Good night, Nikosha, and good night again, Teresa. Um,
Good night, sir.
okay, we we are going to be looking at this 2016 paper and see how far we can, go through it. It's not a question and answer situation, but more a strategy we can use when answering C.X.C exams question. I want to say good night uh, to our YouTubers, persons who are you watching us live on YouTube. I'm only seeing one person. Don't know who that one person be, but good night to you as well. All right. Um, I was ill since Thursday. No, since actually I was tired last week, Wednesday night. And I took the day from work Thursday. And of course, I thought I was okay by Friday. Went to church Saturday, came back home from church. In the night, I was trying to make some preparations. But unfortunately, I thought I got a cold or something like that. And the following morning, I was in my body was experiencing some chills, and I lie down, the fever get hot and hot and hot and hot. I was under the, I had a temperature. But that same Sunday I went on the road, it wasn't a temperature that they did not want to have. Because if they had a bad temperature, they would tell them to stay out of their pharmacy or supermarket. Um, but I didn't trust their thermometers. I think that something was all right. And so I made some home remedies. Um, my father told me to get put what you call it again? Guinean weed, Guinea hen, YouTube, please remember that. Guinea hen, the herb that I use to make the tea. And I drank that tea Sunday night. I drank some water. I took the vitamin C, um, reduction that is. And then by Monday, the temperature started to fall. And I, drink the ginger and garlic tea, continue to drink ginger and garlic tea. Body kind of feel weak. I guess when you are under the fever, it will dehydrate your body. And that's why they say you have to drink a lot of fluid so that because when you become dehydrated, you're going to become tired. You're going to feel tired and a bit weak. So I couldn't have any class on Monday for maths at all. So therefore, I had to stay away from the computer. So today is the first since that I am coming around the computer to teach a class online. So I'm giving God thanks. I believe I'm still in good health, but I more pray ask to pray for myself and my colleagues and our students because we have returned to school face to face. And he was asked to go to do his COVID test. So I'm banking on him and his results to determine if I have to go in as well, which I don't think that he has to go in. I just think it's a long wait, the long wearing of the mask for 5 days, how many sessions in the hot classrooms might would have taken a toll on him. So I'm not sure. But here I am now and giving God thanks. So let us pray. Let us pray. Let us pray. Most kind of loving and heavenly Father, we give you thanks, O God, for sparing our lives. Give you thanks, Lord, for health and for strength. Without you, we would not be here. I want to say thanks to you for everything. Pray, O Lord, that you will keep us healthy. The students who are on Zoom, those who are viewing on YouTube, and even those who are not here now. Pray, Lord, to be with them, not just to keep them healthy alone, but to help them to be prepared for their exams, dear Lord. And just want to give you thanks, just saying thank you for everything. Pray that you'll be with those persons who are currently trying to recuperate or recover from the infection. Pray, dear God, that you give them a speedy recovery. And pray, dear Lord, for those who have lost loved ones to this deadly virus. I pray, dear God, that you will bring comfort and peace to their hearts. And may they remember that you are God and you know best. So they should continue to lean upon you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So this exam was done, as you can see. Please pardon me for trying to clear my nasal airway. Okay. All right. So um, this is an exam in May, June 2016. There might be some considerations to change up the exam for next year in terms of SBAs. I'm not certain. I'm hearing something like that. Um, in terms of, before I go to the exam paper, I have a little thing that I want us to look at first. Give me 1 second there. You guys are hearing me? Or too quiet enough?
Yes, sir. Hearing you.
I
Yes,
can't
sir.
leave, I can't leave quiet this all the time, I want to know so people are hearing me. All right. Um, just want to know that you're in the zone of study tips. And there's a document I just want to share with you before we get into that. Um, this study tip speaks to learners of three main different types of learners. And you should know by now what your learning style is. Now, we have advice for visual learners, advice for auditory learners, advice for tactile learners or kinesthetic learners. Now, if you're a visual learner, you use visual materials such as pictures, charts, and maps. Use color to highlight text and own notes. Take notes or use handouts. Look carefully at headings and patterns of topics. Brainstorm using illustrations. And I want you to underscore that if you're a visual learner. I am more a visual learner, and probably that's why I teach more with visuals, right? Brainstorm using illustrations, mind maps, and models. See, use multimedia where possible, computers and mind maps. Study in a quiet place away from visual disturbances. Visualize information as a picture. You hear that, Teresa? Teresa, you hear that? Your mic is muted, so if you're speaking to me, I'm not hearing it. Skim read an overview before reading in detail. So these are some advices for persons who are visual learners. And I like the one that says brainstorm using illustrations. Advice if you're an auditory learner. Now you'll participate frequently in discussions. Hope you're seeing it better now. Participate frequently in discussions and debates. So if you're an auditory learner, find a friend to discuss what you're learning with that person. Or become your own friend. Stand in front of your mirror. Trust me, yeah. Sometimes I talk to myself, but I don't answer myself. All right, so I'm not crazy. Make speeches and presentations. You can, like, you reciting a speech, you know what I'm saying? Pretend that you're a doctor, pretend that you're a nurse, and you're educating a patient about his or her condition as it relates to why they came in. So you're currently, well, one of yours on circulatory system. So you tell this patient everything you know about the circulatory system. what they need to know, how they can take care, what are the diseases associated with the circulatory system, and how they can avoid it, how they can treat it, and what are the symptoms for some of these diseases. And I hope that when you're studying the systems, you're also studying diseases alongside it, because that makes the thing shorter for you to cover. Use a tape recorder if possible, instead of, or as well as making notes. Read text aloud, create musical jingles and mnemonics to aid memory. Discuss your ideas verbally. Dictate to someone else while they write your ideas down, and speak onto an audio tape and listen to your own ideas played back. Now, the multi-sense for me as a teacher, I normally tell my students to take the multisensory approach to studying. What do I mean by a multisensory approach to studying? Use visuals, do things in the auditory way, and also the tactile way, hence you making these models. Take frequent study breaks if you're a tactile learner. Move around to learn new things. Read while you are using exercise bike. I think they are saying that the tactile learner is busybody. They multitask. Modeling clay to learn new concept. Stand up to work. Use bright colors to highlight reading material and turn it into posters or models. But for me, what I would add to this, what I was always telling you guys, create your own models. Don't just create a chart, but something, try to demonstrate. Like when you're looking at systole and diastole, a simple plastic bottle can demonstrate systole and diastole, right? So when you're making the videos for the circulatory system, you'll also, I'll be seeing you demonstrating how the heart functions, what the heart does. Don't just come and tell me that this ventricle, so be creative, be creative. All right. So these are just some little tips that you can consider when preparing for exams and managing your time well. It is called time management simply because if you understand how you learn, you use how you learn to learn materials that are new to you. That's basically it. All right. All right. So if you have never done human and social biology exam before, it is 2 hours long. 2 hours long. I have 6 questions in 2 sections. 2 hours is 120 minutes. I have 6 questions. So what it means that you have no more than 20 minutes to do each question. So you have to time for paper 2. You have to time yourself properly. Time yourself properly in order to maximize on the time that you have. You understand? So no more than 20 minutes per question. So you can cover all 6 questions. Now, of course, since then, you're asked to write your answers in spaces provided in the booklet. And of course, it means that you have to write legibly, that persons can understand it, especially when it is scanned. And normally they scan the work and they email it to the teachers. They upload it wherever, not really by email, but they upload it to their website. And teachers would log on to their system and mark the exam papers, which is actually scanned. You are somewhat getting accustomed to online, doing your work online. But the difference is that you're not writing on something and uploading it, which I don't want that, because I don't want to be going to the optician too quickly for my eyes. So those are some things you have to bear in mind. The time slot for the exam and how long you will have to take on each question. Is that clear to everyone? Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Very good. Very good. Hope it's clear to my persons on YouTube. Good night to you again. In question number one, can somebody read question number one for me, please? Anybody? Read question number one for me, please.
Matthew is interested in increasing his body mass. His trainer recommends that his diet should contain more complex carbohydrates and suggests that he use foods such as potato and cassava, which are rich in starch. Name a test that Matthew could use to determine the presence of starch in his diet,
Okay, thank
other
you.
than the potato and cassava state.
Continue, continue. You already reached it, so continue.
Other than potato and cassava state two foods that are rich in starch. And three, which of the following foods should Matthew ingest for growth and repair of his muscles? Tissues, fish, plantain, carrots, lentil, peas.
Okay. Now, this of course is this question is based on section A of the syllabus. All right. Well, section B rather, section B of the syllabus, the nutrition part of it, which speaks to identifying the macronutrients and their sources, and also identifying the different types of vitamins and their sources, and the classification of vitamins. Because you know you have water soluble vitamins and fat soluble vitamins. So make sure you know those type of vitamins. Okay, good night to Daniel Hines. Good night to Daniel Hines. Welcome to CDP Laboratory Services. Daniel Hines, welcome. All right. Now, when you're reading, you're in exam now. You're pretending that you're in exam. I know when we're in exam, we tend to have this nervous feeling and the pressure is on. And so sometimes when you're nervous and the pressure is on, it's like you don't know nothing about the question. But that kind of nerve-wracking emotions is easy for you to get over if you read the question slowly and try to visualize the question. Now, how do you visualize a question in an exam? You may ask, because you will not have pictures to use in the exam, but for sure you can draw pictures. You might not be an excellent artist, nor a good artist, or no former artist at all. But guess what? I'm sure everybody can draw a stickman, don't it? Can draw a stickman, Nikosha and Teresa? Can draw a stickman? Or a stick lady?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is it? What is it, Nikosha?
He's a stick figure, sir.
Okay, good. All right. So let's draw out the stickman. So this person, who's this person now? Who is this person? Matthew. Ah, you see? So the picture basically. So we have Matthew. Oh, okay. I didn't know they were allowing me to edit it. All right, let me see if I can get it out of the way. I'm using a comma, so therefore I have to get. All right, you know that comma actually picks up that in it. All right, so back to the stickman again, right? Not that. So we draw our stickman. So this is Matthew. Good. So you're brainstorming your question by just drawing. So it should make you more relaxed. Good. So this stickman here, who is Matthew, is interested in his body mass. Now, when the exam speak, you could highlight also some of the terms, body mass. Now, when you have the body mass, they could also ask about the body mass index. Now, this is all we use past paper questions now, you know. We don't just answer the question that is already there in front of you when you're using a past paper question. No, that don't make much of a sense. But you can use it to explore other possible concepts that is not necessarily tested in this test, but could be tested in a future test. So you talk about the body mass right here. And they can ask you how would you determine the body mass index? What is the formula for the body mass index? They might give you a range of indices that and tell which of them means the person is underweight, the person is obese, or the person is very, very much obese, right? So you need to know these things. We have been through this in previous classes, all right? Hope you'll be able to see them. Now, so to get a person's body mass index, you have to measure their weight, I think is in kilograms, and you have to measure their height. And I think that would have been I think meters or something like that, right? And one of them you have to find the square of it, and you find the quotient between the two to determine the body mass index. The syllabus gives you the formula, all right? We're not talking about the formula, no. Now, so he's interested in increasing his body mass. Good. His trainer recommends. So therefore, what you could do as well is what are some of the things that persons could use to increase body mass? What do we mean by body mass? What does body mass mean? Anybody have an idea what the word body mass means? We'll talk about body mass. What do we mean by body mass? Anybody know? How do we define body mass? You can Google it if you wish. It's a class where it's teaching and learning. All right. So we just want the body mass, not the body mass index, but the body mass itself, not the index. What does body mass mean? What does the word body mass mean? Hmm? All right. Based on the formula for the body mass index, the body mass index measures. Yeah, go ahead, Nicosh. Let me hear what you have to say. Go ahead, Nicosh. Let me hear you. I'm not hearing you.
No, I was going to say that. I was going to say that it would be like how thick someone is, the fat.
No. When you're doing biology and answering biology questions, use biology facts, concepts, principles, and procedures. Okay? All right. No. All right, nice try though. when we're looking at a person's body mass, based on the formula that they use to determine a person's body mass index. And it says index because it is just an indicator to tell you whether or not you are overweight, etc., etc. But a person's body mass is defined by their height and their weight. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, it is true that you don't have any control over your height. You don't have any control. Hold on. You don't have any control over your height, but you certainly have control over your weight. So therefore, the variable that is not constant would have been your weight, but your height would have become constant at some point of your life where you stop growing in height. So that become constant, but your body mass would have fluctuates depending on your diet, depending on your lifestyle, or if your health. Because sometimes people take medication and their body and their height, their weight just go all the way up there. So there are different factors that determine that. Good. Now, so back to the body mass index. It is a square of the height. So it's a person's weight in kilograms, as I said to you before, divided by the square of the height in meters, as I said to you before, divided by the square of the height. So it's weight divided by height square. That gives you the body mass index, right? Now, his trainer, so let's say that he has a trainer. This is his trainer. And you want him trainer to look a bit different from him, right? So maybe it's a Rasta, I don't know, or somebody with dread, I don't know, something like that. Now, say having a conversation with this trainer, his coach recommends that his diet should contain more complex carbohydrates, and suggests that he uses foods such as potato and cassava. So in this situation now, what do you mean by complex carbohydrate? Anybody understand? What do you mean by complex carbohydrate? Come class, it's a class, no, it's not a monologue here. Mm-hmm. All right, complex carbohydrates are made up of sugar molecules that are strung together in long complex chains. So in other words, you have different, all right, carbohydrates are broken down into three different categories. You have the polysaccharides, which would be a complex carbohydrate. You have the disaccharides, which you don't get from fruits, right? Like fructose, lactose, and stuff like that. They have the simple sugars or simple carbohydrates, which should have had, which is a monosaccharide in this case, for example, glucose, right? The simple carbohydrates are in foods such as table sugar, basically that, and that would have been sucrose, good, which is a disaccharide, as I mentioned to you before, good. So the complex carbohydrates now is basically like starch, which is a polysaccharide. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. What we are doing right here now, we have not yet started to answer the question, but you are just getting yourself familiar with the bit of information given to you. That will settle your mind. Good. Now, it's 1 mark. So if you study, you should be able to know this 1 mark. Now, it says, name a test that Matthew could use to determine the presence of starch in his diet. Now, if this question, when you're using that past paper again, another person's, then say, sir, oh, you're not doing a past paper. You can send me some past paper, please. Blah, 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 blah. But some of them don't know how to use past papers. And here's an example of how to use one. This one is asking about one particular food test. So instead of just answering this one question based on the one food test, then I would advise you to even consider, ask yourself, what about the other food tests? What about how you test for protein? What about how you test for glucose, right? Good. So make sure you know the other food tests, them, not just for starch or just for protein or just for glucose, but make sure you know all food tests. Make sense? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the answer for this question though is, nobody want to guess? By chance, I don't know if you know it.
Iodine solution, sir.
Iodine solution, that's correct. Very good. Now, when you answer an exam question, even though the exam does not necessarily mark for sentences in the HSB, that is, but I'd advise you answer it in a complete sentence and clear. So the name of the test that Matthew could use to determine the presence of starch in his diet is the iodine solution test, right? Now, other than potato, cassava, state 2 foods that are rich in starch. That's quite easy. Go ahead and tell me. No, you guys don't know? Ladies don't know? Apart from potato, cassava, 2 foods that are rich in starch.
Beans, sir.
What do you say?
Like peas, beans.
Yeah,
Those are starchy food.
yeah, starch food, yes, but I'm not. The truth is, let me be honest with you. Every food have a bit of starch in it,
Okay.
but I'd probably go for maybe yam.
Yum.
Go with something easy. You know what I mean? Yam. Um, because if you go to the beans, that is more rich in protein. You understand? So I'd more go for the root tubers them, right? Like yam, um, sweet potato.
Just a
Uh,
potato and
well,
cassava, so it's an apple
okay, okay. So yam, then I'll put yam, and what else is there? No, go market.
Dasheen.
Dasheen. Don't put dumpling now,
Cocoa.
Cocoa. Don't put dumpling. Don't put dumpling, because I don't know how many Caribbean nationals know about dumpling. And if they're
Flour.
marking,
So they don't know about flour.
yeah, but where does flour come from? Is the source you're looking at, not the byproduct. Is the source. This test is based on you knowing the sources of the macronutrients. And the macronutrients which you are focusing on this in this particular question is starch, carbohydrate. All right. Okay. So let's move on to part 3 now. So which of the following foods would Matthew ingest for growth? You see another word, ingest. No, what does ingest mean?
Intake, sir.
Eh? What the word ingest mean?
Certain intake.
Oh, to take in. Okay. So ingestion to take in. So in other words, they ask what should Matthew eat for growth and repair of his muscle tissue. So which of the following? Now they have made this question easy. Fish, plantain, carrots, lentil, peas. Which of the following? Which of the following should, which of the following? Which answer you guys will give? Hmm? Now, some persons will choose fish because as they say it's animal protein, right? But some persons will also choose lentil peas because it's rich in protein as well. It's a source of protein. So this question lends itself to any of the two, whether you say fish or lentil peas. Is that clear? All right. Silence means consent to me, so we'll move on. All right. So part 4. Could you continue reading part 4 for me, Madam Nikosha, since you had started before? No, I'm not hearing you. Not hearing any Nikosha. All right. So when Nikosha is sorting out her mic, you have to log out and log in, and log in back Nikosha. So, all right. While she is coming on back, Teresa, you're here. And so those on YouTube, special good night to you all. Let us name 2 reagents that Matthew should use to test for the presence of protein in his meal. So see that before we get to that, we were talking about knowing what's the test for it. Did you have an idea what the answer is, Teresa? Based on your previous studies?
No, sir.
That's not good. That's bad.
No, sir.
All right. What do we mean by the word reagents, by the way? What do you mean by word reagents? You have an idea? Hmm? What do you mean by the word reagents? Hmm?
So I'm not sure.
You're not sure. All right.
If you make it like that, child of program, you go have one.
All right, Nicole, sure. I want to hear what you're going to at this point.
I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, that's all right. Now, a reagent is defined as a substance or mixture for use in chemical analysis or other reactions. So a reagent is a substance or a mixture for use in chemical analysis or other reactions. So as you do past papers again, make sure that you are also learning the terms that are used in each exam question, so that if the term should reoccur in the current exam that you get to do, at least your understanding of the question would have been better than before. So, two reagents. So they wanted to name two chemicals then. Analysis, because they would have, those chemicals would have allowed you to analyze if there is protein in the meal. All right. There's a chemical. Do you know the chemicals for the protein test, Nikosha? Nikosha? Hmm?
No, sir, I don't.
You guys don't research it yet?
Sir, we don't really use for research on
You
how
not
to
even
do
watch
it.
no video for it either?
No, sir.
All right, let's look at that video. Because I'm not going to tell you. Let's look at that video for it. We're learning here. Let us find a video for it. La, 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 la. Now, the name of the test is basically a testing for what we call a burette solution. All right. So we're going to watch a little short video. 1 second here. I hope it's not copyrighted. If it is copyrighted. 1 second here, please.
So I'm going to show you just this test here because I want you to know what it should look like if it's positive. This is Biuret reagent, and basically I have water on this side, and over here, well, this is going to be an unknown, but it is going to test positive so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to take my pipette, and I only want to use this pipette with my reagent. I don't want to mix my pipettes because otherwise they might not work right. And so we want to make sure we keep.
Yeah, hold on. That lady calls it the pipette, but some persons call it the pipette. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's continue.
Everything in this, in the same bottles. So I'm putting this into the water, and as you can see, this is turning just plain blue. Nothing exciting there. It looks about the same. Looks a little violet in the bottle, but it's really blue. It's just because of the white outside. But you're going to see a huge change on this one. You can see that's very purple. In fact, I'm going to get it out there for you so you can see. You can see the difference is huge compared to the water. This means that the one on the right tests positive for proteins. And so that's what you're going to do with all 6 of your different food samples, and you're going to find out which ones contain protein. This is pretty easy, and I'm hoping that you'll get it right the first time and fill out your chart when you're done. Remember, positive for a plus sign for if it is test positive, negative if it is not testing inside that solution.
All right. Now, she used what we call a burette solution right there. But you might want to know what are some of the chemicals that makes up a burette solution, right? Good.
Sir.
Now the chemicals that make up the burette solution, because the burette itself is just, I guess they made a mixture. So just use the burette solution right away. But if you're in the lab, like you're at high school, then you would use what we call a copper 2 sulfate. So copper 2 sulfate is one. It is blue basically. Copper 2 sulfate, some blue crystals, potassium, sodium, and of course you would add sodium hydroxide to it as well. All right, make note of that. So the reagents used for the protein test is copper 2 sulfate, sodium hydroxide, potassium, sodium, sorry, potassium, and you use sodium hydroxide rather. All right, so you could use copper 2 sulfate and make mention of the sodium hydroxide. Cool.
Yes, sir.
So sodium hydroxide and copper 2 sulfate. All right, and those can use the test for protein. And of course, the test for fat, right? The test for fat. You can use grease paper to test for fat. So you can use even the patty paper, the brown paper bag, to test for fat. And you see the grease mark and you can know that fat is in the meal, right? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So we're at part B of the question now. So the first part of the question spoke to food tests mainly and source of nutrients. All right. Now for this question now, part B of the question now, could you read this part for me, Teresa?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Table 1 shows the number of children in hundreds who suffer from diet-related diseases in country X and country Y. Table 1, diet-related diseases of children in 2 countries, X and Y. Disease. Sir, why you have these big words, you know?
Why am I doing that?
I have to read these big words.
Well, sorry that Tasha is not online. I don't know if the coach can help you with those big words. Or
The
Ashley, if she can
marasmus.
help.
Sir, pronounce that one.
Which one I must pronounce? The K1,
No,
Kashioka.
the M1.
Marasmus.
Pronounce it right.
Yeah, marasmus. You have to use a syllabication to do it, you know. Marasmus. Marasmus. Jamaican language, right? And Kashioka. and scurvy. No.
Okay. Night blindness is not hard. It's easy.
All right, good. Now, looking at the term that they use in the bit of information, the sentence there, diet-related diseases. What do you mean by diet-related disease? What other term could they have used instead of diet-related?
Insufficient.
Well, all right.
Or
You
not
try.
a balanced diet.
Well, if you have a balanced diet, you probably would not suffer from any of these
not
diet-related diseases. But What it really means, though,
Insufficient
is
nutrients in the body.
that what that tells me that you have not been reading enough. You have not been doing much reading at all. That's what this is saying to me. Out of any of my YouTube persons, I don't know if Daniel I would like to give an answer. I don't know if that the person is still there, but what's another term for diet related? Anybody in YouTube land who would like to say?
I remember when I start with your class, you passed there already, you know. Or probably would skip over it. I'm not sure.
I don't want to ask the question though. Where did that person start? All right, diet, and I think Nikosha came on way after that too. Now, diet related would mean the same thing as deficiency diseases. Now, deficiency means lack of. So, it's lack of a particular nutrient or nutrients that would cause the children to develop either of these deficiency diseases or diet related diseases. Good. Um, what I want you to notice now, okay, you don't just use passport questions like that, as I said before. You must learn something from it. Now, about exams and about the subject area. Now, this table that you're seeing here is not a fictitious report. It's something that was done in a country, not the country don't name X nor Y, but of course, for certain ethical reasons, they would not necessarily want to name the countries. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But these things do happen. So people go there and do, like for example, when you go to the doctor and you register at the hospital, they ask you a lot of questions and they register you. Now, they create a docket for you, a document for you. So, of course, whatever you came in for, that would have been recorded on your file. Now, if they are doing a, if someone is doing a research, they go to the hospital to look at persons' files and to see how many persons for a particular period came in for a particular disease and what were the different causes of illnesses. And so you call that statistical data. So scientists do collect statistical data. All right. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So don't feel that because it's biology, you won't be asked to draw a graph. You'll be asked to draw graphs because you must be able to draw a graph. Because if you're a nurse, if you're going to be a nurse and you're in a meeting and you're given some big position, you must be able to do some big time presentations to show statistical data. Just like how the Prime Minister was using some form of statistical diagrams to illustrate the projection of COVID and how much persons would get this and get that as they go along. So it's the same thing. What you're looking at is what we call a frequency table in mathematics, right, Nikosha?
Yes, sir.
If you reach right there, so yet, that's cool. So this is like a frequency table, right? Now, what they're asking us to draw here, but you must know that even though they might, well, I guess they're going to ask you eventually. What are the what's the deficiency for what nutrient is lacking in in the children diet that will cause them to develop marasmus? We know that cassioka. Anybody can tell what cassioka is? Which nutrient is missing for cassioka? Since we're on it, just learn about it. Which nutrient was missing for cassioka? I want to know.
I think it's protein.
It is protein.
Yeah.
What about marasmus?
Yes, yes.
Carbohydrates mostly. Lack of carbohydrates mostly. All right. It would also say enough protein, but it's mostly carbohydrates, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. And what about scurvy? Lack of what? Lack of what would cause scurvy? You worry about scurvy yet?
So I think it's a vitamin. I'm not
Yeah, which
sure.
vitamin it is? Which vitamin is it lacking? It is a vitamin.
See,
Vitamin C, that's correct. Night blindness. What nutrient is missing in the child's diet for night blindness? Hmm? Night blindness. What caused night blindness? Hmm? Night blindness. That's an easy one, no? That's an easy one.
I don't want to say it and get it wrong.
No, no, man. This is called class. This is called class, so it doesn't matter. You know, must remember, but still try.
So I know one vitamin, but I just remember which
No, but
one.
no, night blindness. Which vitamin linked to when you talk about night blindness? What comes to mind?
But about carrot.
Carrot, exactly. And what carrot? What kind of vitamin carrot provided with?
I don't remember.
You
Eh?
know, A, exactly. That's the answer. So that you use. So you use what you know to find out what you don't know. So night blindness is naturally caused by a deficiency of vitamin A in the child's diet. You see? All right. So what this is saying to us then, that mothers who are going through their 9 months gestation period must have a balanced diet so that the child will not develop such um, diseases. All right. So again, we get ourselves familiar with that. We're using past paper questions. How do we use past paper questions? We're not just answering questions like that. We are we are using it to test our knowledge of what we know or learn something from it while we go ahead and still try to answer the questions that are on the past paper itself. All right. So on the grid provided on page 7, blah blah blah. Draw a bar graph to represent the data in table 1. Now, a bar graph is not something difficult. And you guys know what a bar graph looks like? Any of you?
Sir.
Okay, well, that's at least that's very good. I'm glad to hear that. But something like this, and then you will look and see what's the highest number of children. Highest number of children is 70. Lowest number of children is 20. So maybe you can use 1 centimeter is really 5 marks. So you can use 110, you can use, depending on how you want the graph look, you can scale it. So you can say, all right, for every 2 centimeters, because that represents one child or 10 children. So 2 centimeters represent 10 children. So let's say this is up to here is 10 and 5 centimeters. I'm not really using that is there. I'm just creating something here. When you join the bar graph, it would be best to join both of them together, right? Why I'm saying that? Because you want to make the comparison of country X and country Y. So but you're going to put spaces in between them still. So this could be another set, another disease on this side here. But you put the two bars together. So one is for country X and one is for country Y. Making sense? Making
Yes,
sense?
sir.
When you're
Yes,
drawing
sir.
a bar graph like this, that's for you to make comparisons between two variables, country X, country Y. It means that you would put one of the bars represent country X and the next bar represents country Y. So it's not a case where we have bar, all bars separated. No. One of the put two bars together, one represents country X, one represents country Y. Make sense? Now,
Yes,
there's what we call legends or titles. Well, legends. On the vertical side, normally put the frequency, which would have been the numbers right here, the recorded numbers, and then on this horizontal line, you would put these. Okay, is that clear? Is that clear?
yes, sir.
Okay, good. This is a sketch of what the bar graph should look like. All right. Maybe next class we can look at an actual drawing the graph itself, or you can get graph paper for your next class, so we can come back to that part of the question and you draw it and we look at what it will actually looks like. All right. Now that's 3 marks. Which country has a higher incidence of both marasmus and Kashioka? You answer the question then. Which country has a higher incidence of both marasmus and Kashioka?
Country X.
Eh? Country X.
Country X.
Okay. You agree, Teresa?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Which country has a lower incidence of diseases altogether?
Country Y.
Country Y. Okay. Are you sure? You sure about that? What would be the safest thing to do to be accurate?
Add them up.
Exactly. Not taking a long time. Just add them up. Yes, you'd want to say country Y because country X alone have 70 children having one type of disease, which is higher than the everything else there. And it has the second highest. So you want to look at that. But also note that in both the last two diseases, country Y had more. But the answer would have been country X. Because when you add these two, it's just basically 10 less than the 45. All right.
It is country X.
Yeah, man, it is country X. I know I wasn't saying no. Sister, I wasn't saying no. All right, so we continue. So this part of those who are still on one question. This part of the question is is part B of the exam. And this part of it is basically based on deficiency diseases, nutritional diseases rather. So make sure that you studied those things because you don't know if this thing might end up a come this year. You don't know. All right. You're warned. You're warned. All right, so let's just proceed. So where are we now? Using your knowledge. Oh, who wants to read that question? Somebody read that question for me, please.
Using your knowledge of nutritional disease suggests the major
Hold on. What kind of disease?
Nutrition.
nutritional
Okay. Continue.
suggests the major nutrient that may be lacking in the diet of children from country X that could cause them to develop night blindness and state one source of this nutrient.
Well, well, I want you to realize now that the little activity that we did early on sets us up for this question. You see it now? So what's the nutrient that was missing? We said it earlier. What was the nutrient?
Vitamin A.
Vitamin A. And the source?
Correct.
Oh, good. Good. So so you see, when you use past, how you use past questions, not because it could have been marasmus, it could have been Kashioka, it could have been scurvy that they ask right here. So it makes sense that when you're using past question, don't just write because you want to just correct it and tell if you're wrong or you're right. No, 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 no. Learn more from the paper. Research. Even though the question didn't ask you that, but still research on it nevertheless. So you know more about it. So even if we look at future past paper questions, then a similar question might turn up, but because you did the research now, you're testing if you learned it, yes or no. So you use past paper questions. Okay. Now let us continue. Our results are somebody else read. Before you want to read, go ahead. Who's going to read that one?
As a result of a change in government, a certain country no longer suffers from the effect of hunger. Suggests two diseases that could develop as a result of overeating and lack of exercise.
Okay, two diseases.
Obesity.
Okay, yes, obesity. Obesity and what else?
Sorry, cardiovascular disease.
Well, you could have cardiovascular diseases, possibly circulatory diseases somehow. Yeah, I guess I don't know if you don't want to put hypertension and diabetes in the lot. But obviously they gave you the actual gave away the question, the answer by stating overeating. Note the word suggests. It means that it's not really a right or wrong answer. But whatever you suggest must be able to be backed up with scientific facts. That's what I mean by suggest. Understand? So overeating, naturally obesity would have been a disease, of course. Lack of exercise. If you are lacking exercise, that would probably lead to what? I guess the same obesity. It's a sedentary lifestyle, right? So maybe also diabetes, possibly. Good. You're not burning off the sugar. You just keep storing up sugar. So you could probably become diabetic. All right. All right. So here's a graph. Wow. Okay, so they gave us the graph. All right. Let's see. You want us to do the graph now or do it in the next class? Make up your mind. Would you like us to do the graph now or do it in the other class? All right. I don't get an answer. Huh? All right, the other class. Okay. Let's just move on to question number 2. I promise that I would have in that. We'll go to this traditional 10 o'clock. No problem. My body don't feel no weak. So I'll drink some water and finish and then go to super duper bed. State the meaning of each of the following terms. Diffusion, osmosis. Do you know an example of diffusion? Anybody? An example of diffusion? Yeah, I hear you. Huh?
So you could spray a perfume
Yes.
and a high concentration from that person moves to another person and it becomes low. What?
Try. Keep trying. Keep trying.
Seriously?
Keep trying.
You spray the perfume, and the area which it is sprayed is high. It has a high concentration, but in time it begins to yes, spread out, and it concentration becomes lower.
Okay. All right. What I'm going to ask you to do, Nikosha, draw a picture of an example of diffusion. Can you do that? Let's draw a simple picture of it. Then after you draw the picture, you can show us, and then you explain your picture. All right, while Nikosha is drawing her picture, Teresa, you have an idea? Sister Powell,
Yes, sir.
you have an idea?
So like an example?
Yes.
For instance, you're cooking, sir. When you're near the food, you smell it like more, but the further you go away from the food, is less you smell it.
Then if that's the case, then if that's the case, then did any diffusion actually take place?
Repeat, sir?
If that's the case, did any diffusion actually took place? Because you're saying the further I'm away from the food, I won't smell it. So the diffusion actually take place based on your example that you gave. I'm just asking. I think you have an idea what you'd like to say, you know. You have an idea what you'd like to say. But I thought you'd have said that your next door neighbor is cooking curry goat. And you stay from your bedroom and smell your neighbor curry goat. How comes you are able to stay from your bedroom and smell your next door neighbor curry goat? How comes? The food does what?
Smell up the place.
Eh? What the food does?
Scent up the place.
It sent, I mean, it sent to the place. I mean, I understand. What do you mean by it sent to the place? Let me sent to the place. Eh? Yeah, hello. Sorry about that. All right. You guys finish? You finished the course, huh? Finish drawing something? The course, huh? Finish drawing anything?
Repeat, sir.
You finished drawing a picture of what you're trying to say?
Yes, sir.
May we see the picture, please? It would be an honor to see the picture. So where's the picture? Hold on. Wait, let us see if we can take a good look at that picture there. I'll come in. All right, carry some more up. Carry up some more. All right. Are you seeing that picture, Teresa?
Sir, I'm seeing the drawing.
Hold on, you gone to book page now, sister. All right, so where see? Oh, wonderful.
Okay, yes, I'm seeing it now, sir.
Now, so based on her picture there, all right, so we see high concentration, low concentration. But there's something else you could label in that picture.
Molecules.
Molecules. So you see the difference the picture make? You see the difference the picture make? You see the difference? Can you come up with another word? A word that was missing. Molecules are particles. Good. Now, there's another word, there's another thing you could add to the drawing. Because those lines that they draw, what they represent the molecules, I would assume, right? Right, Nikosha?
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
which direction they are going? So you need something to draw to show something. What could you draw to show direction?
An arrow.
An arrow. Good. And if you draw an arrow, it would suggest what is happening.
Where it's coming from.
And
Where it's going.
if you use the word going, give me a M word that you'd have to use to suggest that's going or coming from, or there's an M word.
Movement, sir.
Movement.
Movement.
Good. So basically, molecules moving from an area of high concentration of particles to an area of low concentration of the same particles without using a semi-permeable membrane. You don't have to put that part in it though, but simply saying a movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Thank you very much, ma'am. Good job. Good job. So you see now, so to give a good definition then, all Nikosha would have to do right there is simply just all Nikosha would have to do is simply just write a sentence describing what you drew, and that would have given you a clear-cut definition. You see it now?
Sir.
You see? So the power of pictures in helping you to answer exam question is a necessity. So when you go into the exam, don't scratch your head and say, how should I write this again? How should I? No. You draw a picture of what you're thinking about. Then it will become more clearer to you, a more detailed picture too. Detailed picture become more clearer to you, and you can write a good answer and get your full marks. That would have given you full marks. Much easier. Because the definition basically describes. Yeah, the description. Okay. What about osmosis now? What about osmosis? What about osmosis? Nobody?
So it's water molecules from a place of low concentration to a high concentration.
No, it's really well, it depending on what you're looking at still. Depending on what you're looking at. It is more of is water molecules is a must that you mentioned that for sure to get that 2 marks. So the movement of water molecules from an area of high concentration of water molecules to an area of low concentration of water molecules across a semi-permeable membrane. So you have to mention the water molecules, you have to mention that it's going across a semi-permeable membrane and that where it's coming from and where it's going. So you have to remember the pieces of the terms that must be mentioned in that one sentence to give you your 2 marks. Make sense?
You said it's water molecules from
Yeah,
high to low, sir.
high to low, same high to low. But here you have high concentration of water molecules. Yes. Because remember, no, if you had the potato experiment where you create a cavity in a potato and you put let's say you put thing there in it, you put salt or sugar in that. What is really happening, and you put in a dish of water, the water will be moving from a area of high concentration of water into the cavity there where the salt is to dissolve it. But in that cavity there was not much water there to dissolve it at first. But water start drifting away from outside within. You see? You see where I'm going, Teresa? Sister Teresa?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You understand, right? And it would be good if you guys do that experiment for yourself. What is this? Restart tonight. Restart to install the newest Windows feature update. What is that? Windows have a new Windows feature. I wonder what that is. You know, some of them install them. Not trust them, you know. Not just Windows are going to install something new from newest Windows feature. All right. Figure 1, figure 2. And even there are 3 movement of particles that 3 popular, I should say, because maybe them find something else. There are 3 popular movements of particles. What's the other one apart from diffusion and osmosis? Do you know the other one? You guys know the other movement of particles? Do you remember? Try remember.
There's the next one.
Try remember.
Active transport.
Exactly. See, you doubt yourself too much, young lady. Stop doubting yourself, man.
There's
Active
not doubt.
transport.
I read through it one.
You did what?
I did read through it one.
Yeah, so don't doubt yourself. So you mean you don't remember? You try first. Don't tell yourself that you don't remember. Try first. Don't tell yourself that you don't. Try first. Then. Then. All right. Now, so let's move on to something else. Now, active transport is the third one. What's the difference between the first 2 and active transport? Give me a difference between the two. Anybody? There's a difference between the two, you know. Come, folks. There's a difference between active transport and the other two. What do you want to guess? Well, it's really from low to high across the gradient using energy, basically. You follow now? From low to high using energy. All right? Opposite. All right. Figure 1, figure 2 represents experiments. We're going to wind down now. We're going to come to an end of this question. Figure 1, figure 2 represent experiments to show the movement of molecules. And figure 1, experiment on the movement of molecules. So I wanted to look at what's happening here. They had put some possibly potassium permanganate in water and started to dissolve, and then it even out into the container. So basically they are demonstrating diffusion right there. So good. Now the second one, they have a concentrated sugar there and they have water. Now what do you think would happen to that tube looking like thing? What do you think would happen? Nobody have an idea? All right, let's get down to the questions.
So the tube is what, sugar?
Yeah, man, the tube, yeah, as it says, concentrated sugar.
So it's gonna dissolve.
It's going to dissolve. Okay, all right. Why? Why is it going to dissolve?
So sugar dissolve in water.
All right, then. Because the water molecules will have moved into the area of a high concentration of sugar solution. You know? And the sugar solution would have a high concentration of solute and a low concentration of solvent, which would have been the water. So the water now, which is the solvent, is going to dissolve the sugar concentrated, which is the solute. All right, well, let's go along further now. It has both experiments show the movement of molecules. So there's two differences between the two movement of molecules in figure 1 and figure 2. That's easy. Two differences. There's one clear difference. All right, tell you what we're going to do. For next week's class, being that you guys know this part of it, we're going to look at some practical activities for osmosis and diffusion. And we're also going to be looking at basically those two. Right? So you can have practical mind. So I hope you guys get your potato tomorrow. Sorry, next class. Get a potato. You can spare one of your potatoes. I went to do the experiment so we can see. You can learn from that experiment. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. It will be a fun class. All right. So it's now 10 o'clock. So we're going to come to the end of this class. Next week, definitely we'll finish up number 2, and hopefully we can look at 2 more questions as we move into our past paper phase of the program. All right. Give God thanks that I was able to go through this entire thing. All right. So far. All right. So what's class tonight? How was class tonight?
It was okay.
It was okay. Good. I guess it's okay for you to be kosher.
It was educational. So we
Okay.
have notes about things
You have notes on what? What you have notes on the kosher?
and a lot of things, sir, from different questions.
Okay, okay. Oh, you mean you made notes from, okay, okay, good. All right, so thank you for your participation tonight. Of course, that was good. And naturally, you would have probably learned how to better use your past papers if you are somewhat doing it on your own. So some person like to do past papers on their own, right? So I hope you have been guided properly how to use your past paper questions if you have any working with. And it makes no sense to just answer the questions only just to get teachers to mark it right or wrong. No, try to learn, try to use one paper to represent a future exam. So you learn more about the thing than just what the question is actually asking you. Right. Okay. So next week we'll have our guest teacher, Mrs. Riley, Godzilla, she's in good health. I'm in good health, and she will be taking on some of the questions and directing you to answer some of those questions as well. We have discussed it that we want to team teach for some of the questions. All right. Okay. So that's a wrap for tonight. Ladies, please, I'm begging you. Please get your assignments done. I know that Nikosha, you have something to do over back Nikosha, so please do that back over. Teresa, you need to step up the ball game. I told you what to do last week in terms of creating a picture album, so you can have better understanding of what you're doing. I saw what drawing does a while ago. The power of drawing, draw to know and write from what you draw and do your thing. Okay, ma'am. Okay, Teresa.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, because February basically almost done now. We have about what 2 weeks left in February, and then March, April. So we want to ensure that the knowledge base is covered. All right, so that's it. That's it. You may leave. Have a good night.
Sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, good night, Teresa.
Good night, sir.
Okay then. All right. You may leave the room now. Thank you, please. I would like to speak to my YouTubers, that's why. Okay. All right. Good night to those persons on YouTube. Thank you. I saw that there were consistently 2 persons. I don't know how many of you were viewing. They did not say anything in the chat. But thank you and welcome to CDP Library Services. To that again, Daniel Hines. So thank you very much. I do apologize that this week we did not have a giveaway day, but hopefully next week again we'll have a giveaway day. All right. So if it's your first time stopping by our YouTube channel, I'm going to ask you to like, share, and subscribe. And share with persons who need to learn and prepare for their exams in this year 2021. Of course, if you'd like to join CDP Labs Services as a student, of course, you could go to our Facebook page and you click on the sign up button. It will take you straight to the application form and then you apply to join. So we're now registering students for January 2022 and May, June 2022. So thank you very much for stopping by. Please do have a good night and a good weekend. Tomorrow we have maths class coming up, or Thursday maths class will be We'll be streaming our Thursday maths class tomorrow. However, please note that we stream, we have maths classes twice per week, Mondays and Thursdays. However, we only stream one of the classes per week. So this week we did not stream the Monday class, so we'll be streaming the Thursday class. And next week we resume, God's willing, we're all in good health. We will resume our Monday maths classes, but we do not stream the Thursday maths classes. We'll be having two biology classes as well going forward, because as we move towards our exams, we increased our number of biology classes, but we only stream one class per week. So we hope that those who have been viewing our channel will be still benefiting from those classes that are being streamed live and the activities that we normally would have shared in the chat that you guys can actively participate. But if you want to still join CDP Labs Services, feel free to register. If you want to join this school to be ready for exams this year, you can still join the classes. All right. So please do have a good night. Thank you for supporting CDP Labs Edu Services.